We have been together, we still are, we always are, in wilderness, and we have been in this communal building project trying to figure out how to become community, and one way has been to build something together. And so for the last 8 parshas, we've been building the Mishkan, which has an odd name in English, the tabernacle. So let's stick with Mishkan. And it's been, the instructions were given, and then the building happened. We heard about all the things again. Anybody have one of those Torah portions listing all of the things in the Mishkan? Yeah, you did, yeah. Lots of lists of all the building things we needed. And then, right, to start it, people were asked to give of their heart, and then to build it, people were asked who were wise of heart to build the Mishkan. Very heart-centered building project. And now we are here. It has arrived at the moment in which the Mishkan is going to be dedicated. We also learned along the way all the things that Aaron and his sons were going to do in their priestly role and what they were going to wear and everything. So much detail has come to this moment. And now it's Shmini, now it's the 8th day, and it's going to be the dedication. And it starts off going so well. You probably hear that I'm suggesting that then something happens that's not so great. So everything is together. It's a greatly anticipated day. So much has been learned and ready. Aaron and his sons do all the sacrifices in the way that was prescribed. Moses and Aaron bless the people. Rashi tells us, our commentary, Rashi tells us that Aaron did the priestly blessing, same blessing we often do together here. And the presence of God, Kavod Adonai, appeared to all the people, and fire came forth from God and consumed the burnt offerings that they had made on the altar, and the people were overwhelmed with emotion, and wow. And then this incredible day took a turn. It turned incredibly tragic. And it's a tragedy that our people have continued to wrestle with through the centuries. After the ritual, Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, each in their own place of excitement, took the fire pans, placed fire on it, and laid incense and offered it to God as they were told they were supposed to do, to put fire on the altar. Yet here it says that they offered Eish Zara, strange fire, which God had not told them to offer. So a fire came down and consumed them, and they died. Then Moses says to Aaron, "This is what Adonai meant by saying, through those near to me, I show myself holy and gain glory before all the people." That was Moses' response, a lot of words in a place of overwhelm. And then the Torah tells us, Vayidom Aharon. And Aaron was silent. Aaron was silent. Damam, to be silent. It's a disturbing and powerful moment in Torah. And it's been wrestled with and wrestled again. And there's midrashim, there's stories around the stories from all ends that maybe there was something wrong with Nadav and Avihu, that there were defects in their character, there were problems about them, and this is why this happened. And then it flips the other side, and you'll find midrashim saying, no, they were in some ways so good, so holy, that all the people were going to be sanctified through them. It was not their fault. It was their fault, and everything in between. And all of this tries to explain in a moment of grief, and yet what Aaron does is exactly profound in that moment. That Aaron is silent. Silent in grief. Silent inside of grief. Our prophet Ezekiel also talks about silence in grief. Just want to make sure that person is okay. Okay, thank you. Hahanik dom metim. The prophet Ezekiel tells us that we sigh, that we moan, that we lament in our grief silently, that we sigh into the silence. And our sages learn this, and they pull from this place in Ezekiel so many things about how we are to be in our grief from this verse. And one of them is that when we go to a house of a mourner, when we go to a Shiva gathering at the house of a mourner, you don't greet the mourner, and they do not need to greet you. The usual pleasantries and tucking, that's not what's needed in this place. Our tradition gives us a structure to allow for some silence. The door is left a little bit open so that people can just come in and sit without greeting. I like the way that Rabbi Lamb put it. The visitor sits down without fuss and bother to share in the grief of their neighbor. To share in the grief of their neighbor inside of the silence. There is so much overwhelming grief right now in our world. And there's so much talking. So many people, when they're saying things, I just want to say, let me stop you now. So much grief. There's not been room for grief to feel the overwhelming grief, and then every day there's more death and more killing and more grief. Last week, I went to the Pioneers Conference up in the Bay Area. Pioneers, in their words, they describe it as inspiring and realizing a shift to live on the earth in ways that honor the web of life, each other, and future generations. It's an innovative space that highlights breakthrough solutions for restoring people and the planet. And that was very much my experience of being there. It was incredibly inspiring, and it was incredibly overwhelming. You can imagine that a space that centers the earth and then moves out in interconnected ways to everything, has a lot of grief. The first part of each visionary leader or scientist or thinker or economist or all of the different words or people working in incarceration justice and indigenous elders and all of the visionary leaders, the first part of everything they shared was about how bad it is, what we're looking at in terms of species extinctions and planetary survival and human being survival. The survival of all of us, the survival of all of our relatives, animals and plants. And so I would experience in my body the first part of everybody's talk. Literally, I felt like I was sinking. And it was a large room of people sinking down lower and lower. And we would meet in the mornings, hear these keynotes, and then go off to workshops and panels in the afternoon. It was 3 days, and one of the workshop spaces, or not even a panel or a workshop, one of the spaces every afternoon, every day, was a grief circle. It was called an activist grief circle. I went to that space taking that sinking feeling that I had been carrying all in my body, and was so relieved to find that it was a quiet space. That you entered in cushions and you could just sit there quietly. It felt so healing. They then also created an opportunity that if you wanted to share the grief that you were carrying, you could. In a ritual, in a circle, you know I like that. A death and dying and grief doula led people in sharing of what they were holding in their grief. And it was incredible, all the different places that people were at with the grief. And I found for myself that I just wanted to sit in the silence, to lament, as Ezekiel says, in silence. This kind of silence leaves lots of room. This kind of silence makes room. It's not silence for denial or immobilization or apathy or stuckness. It's the invitation of a silence that makes room and makes possibility and just please gives us some space for the grief. One of the presenters shared a recent study that the more people are inundated with information about climate change and planetary disaster, the less they feel inspired to do anything about it. You would think that, oh, you got lots of information, now you'll do something about it. And that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing that the more people are knowing, the more they're overwhelmed. And what I've been hearing again and again and again from activists is, hold on a second. There is so much that we can do. That's not an expansive silence of grief. That's a restrictive silence of overwhelm and paralysis and loss of hope. Elder Orrin Lyons, who is chief of the Onondaga Nation Council of Chiefs of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy, 94 years old. Some of you have probably heard him speak before. He said again and again at some point a repeated phrase, "It is really, really bad, and it is not too late." It is really, really bad, and it is not too late. And that was exactly the heart of the matter. I share with you, and then in the morning it would be the sinking feeling of everything happening in the first part of the talk, but the second part of the talk, oh my goodness, friends, there are incredible people doing incredible things all over the world. And to hear what they were doing, I haven't felt that inspired in a very long time. I felt like I was just like, give me the soup, I want to eat it all, give it to me, give it to me. I want that inspiration. Everything from, and I'm still metabolizing, I just ate a full meal, so I'm metabolizing all of it, but everything from these paradigm shifting ideas, the rights of nature movement, the circular economy, strengthening monopoly laws and antitrust laws, the right to repair technology. What? Somebody said right to repair. I was going on to all kinds of other things. She's like, my iPhone, my computer, yeah. Bringing back traditional burn practices, indigenous burn practices, bringing back the beavers, letting water return to where it wants to be in big cities. You can hear that return is a theme. Grief that moves us to new paradigms and new solutions. And I promise I will have more to share on all of that. That's like a teaser of all those paradigm shifting ideas. More to come. It is bad. It is real bad, everyone. And it is not too late. It is not too late. Silence that gives us space for our grief. And then silence that creates the possibility of new paradigms, new solutions, and new visions. And then the day after the conference, to see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Israelis in the street calling for a new government. New paradigms, new possibilities. After Aaron's silence in this passage, Moses then instructs Aaron and his other sons what's to happen next. So many instructions in Torah. Instructions, and then Moses asks about the sin offering and says, why wasn't it eaten in the sacred area? Thank you. It's like an amen. And at that point, Aaron breaks his silence, saying, I'm adding the really. Really? This day they brought their sin offering and their burnt offering before Adonai, and such things have befallen them. And if I had eaten it today, would God have even approved? Back off, man. That part's also me. It's a moment of Aaron speaking up. We hear nothing from Aaron. Aaron is silent. And then he does stand up and say, stop with your instructions for a minute. Something has changed. Something is different now. I'm not going to just do what we had said because something is different now. And we're told that Moses listens to his brother and understands. Listens to his brother and understands. May each of you find room for a wide open expanse of silence, to be a place for your grief, for your personal grief, for our collective grief. And may your grief also move you in new directions, in new pathways, into new visions softly creeping, creating new pathways for us all. Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that spread the night and touched the sound of silence.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. No one dared disturb the of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its